This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, but boasting a beautiful Toronto background because I consider that my true home. Love Toronto. And I was just there on vacation and went to Frightmare in the Falls where I got to see my guest today. He was on the show back in 2017, and we got all 39 years of him here today, folks. Folks, I give you the absolutely awesome David Katims Chuck of Friday the 13th Part 3. How do you do, David?
I'm doing very well, and yeah, it was that was a great Frightmare in the Falls. That was the first time I had done that one. So, uh, well, first of all, I'd never been to Niagara Falls at all, so yeah, just to see those were great. But that was a
Did you
fun one.
did you go under the falls and get a shower?
I am all about it, man. I got in that boat and I got soaking wet.
Did you get in the boat? I've never done that. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, no, they do it really well. They give you everybody these very small pink what do you call raincoats? Not real raincoats, just they're disposable. So you just putting on plastic for a second, and then yeah, they are able to get quite close, really close. So yeah, the bizarre thing that happened, I don't know if you read after that Frightmare in the Falls, but a mother and two children killed her two children in herself by jumping over the falls, literally 7 days after that convention.
oh, I never heard about that. Holy cow, what
Uh,
drives people to do that?
well, all I would say, as I say about any murder suicide, start with the suicide, kill yourself, let the other people live.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Tracy Savage posted some photos of her at the falls as well, So yeah, I guess you guys were enjoying that. And speaking of which, I gotta show off that shirt. Look at that. Oops.
Oh, there we go. It's yeah, yeah, yeah. Nice. You did
Yeah.
at the convention?
No, I had that for a while. I got that here, and of course I got the whole box set, but here's the Blu-ray.
Yeah, I wish I could have provided you a stronger photograph autograph, but
Actually, this was Tracy Savage on this one, but
there we go. She's the one with the messy pen. I couldn't even read it.
that's okay. I got her to sign that, and then I'd see some photos on there. Like she had the script. This is
Oh
my
yeah.
second Friday the 13th script.
I cannot believe she was clever that way. I never even thought to do that.
Yeah, yeah. So and of course, I get a mess of autographs here. Look at that. Look at that character.
That's a good looking guy.
Yeah, that Tommy Chong looking guy.
What's funny, Greg, is when you hold the picture up, sometimes it becomes translucent. You can look right through it, and part of it. So I saw my image, but nothing else. It was the Toronto image behind you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a green screen kind of thing that's happening, and so I can see my picture, but where your hand was the Toronto backdrop.
Well, do you want people looking through you?
Yes, I do. I like to be transparent. I don't. I'm not one of these people who pretend to be something else, and I'm not always, some things I say probably aren't always welcome, but I'm too old to care.
Yeah. And Tracy Savage being one of my crushes growing up, She comes on Boxing Day. She's been on here 5 times on Boxing Day, so she recognized me right away, and I got some pictures of her here too.
So it's been a while since you and I've talked, but I'll give a little backdrop in case you don't remember. Tracy, when we made this film, her mother was an agent,
And your agent.
was my agent, and
Mm-hmm.
was also the agent of Nick Savage, the black guy, the biker,
Mm-hmm.
was the agent for him. and for one other person I can't think of. But so I actually knew her before the film was ever made. She, her mom worked her agency out of her house. Yeah, lovely girl.
Oh my goodness. I had an enormous crush on her and she's not even creeped out by it. I'm like, hey,
Are you
she was
kidding?
my,
Come on, kiss it. She is one of my favorite people, and really has led a very impressive life. I'm proud of her too.
well, I'm really happy that uh, I got her on the show because she was in a movie called The Bone Garden.
Oh, I know, yeah, with
Yeah,
Gilbert.
and I thought it was some kind of a fiction thing, because it had these 3 or 4 Friday the 13th people in it. And I discovered, gee, this is an actual movie. And I reached out and I got Mike Guttridge, the director, on the show. And I had him on and we chatted, and he's been on a couple other times as well. And he connected me with Tracy. And
Oh,
Tracy and I hit it off really well. And
did you get a chance to also meet with Paul, who played Rick in Friday the 13th, the
no,
man? Because
um,
he was in Bone Gardens, I believe.
yeah, and Mike told me how to get in touch with him, but he's never ever gotten back to me. So,
Oh, oh, well, let me give you a background on that because he came to the first convention that I have seen him at ever uh, in Phoenix, June of this year. Paul lives in a Polynesian island called Vanuatu, uh, very remote in the middle of the China Sea, basically. But he made it to that one just in time to the Phoenix convention to give all of the cast COVID. Thank you, Paul.
did he?
He was very sorry. He didn't know it at the time, but yeah, we all got COVID after that convention. But nice to see him otherwise.
I bet that was an eye-popping event.
Oh yeah, well for him, and it should have been. I if he had allowed me, I would have popped his eyes out, but I didn't know at the time I was being infected yet. I just was on my way into hell.
It's interesting because I never got the bug. I worked through the entire thing. And one of the things I found insulting is there was a lot of stuff on the news about doctors and nurses, and I understand that. Very, very important. But there was never a mention given to cleaners. And
Did,
yeah, because I work in cleaning. I do
oh, cleaning
janitorial
agent.
work.
Is that what you're talking about? Cleaning agents?
Yeah, like I worked through the entire pandemic, and it's like, wow, like because and the reason why is because, to become a doctor and a nurse, you got to go to school and this and that. And I get the feeling that if you're working janitorial, you're looked at as uneducated. And I'm like, yeah, but during the pandemic, we definitely played a major part in keeping stuff sterilized and clean because I never missed a
It's
day.
the opposite. I would think because they do have time to themselves, they may be reading books. They may be more educated than most people.
Yeah. But I work about 80 hours a week. I have to do 2 jobs to keep. My cat won't get a job. My cat won't get a job,
I've had
So,
those unemployed suckers. They just sit there. When is my next meal? Yeah.
well, my cat's been studying for his PhD in laziness, and I think he's been overstudying. I think he'll probably get an A+ on it.
I would assure. I'm glad to hear you're a cat man. I'm a cat man.
Yeah, he stiddles around here always back there pretending to sleep.
My brother lives in Tennessee, and he and his wife have 6 cats, 4 ferrets, and then they feed everything around them. So they have regularly on the daily skunks, foxes, deer coming into their yard, and they give them peanuts and stuff like that.
My brother and his wife had two ferrets at one time. Those things will confiscate anything they can get hold of.
It's crazy. The other thing they do that's crazy, crazy is they're so frenetic. They'll run and then they'll tucker out and mid-run just fall down and go to sleep. Mid-walking, they'll just go, "Hmm." You just go, well, I guess Energizer Bunny has to be revived.
I watched them drag my sister-in-law's hairdryer down the hallway and under their bed. It was just amusing to watch them. Like they just had to, it's like they were on a quest.
Yeah, no, they're thieves, those ferrets.
Yeah, it's amusing, you know. But yeah, I am a cat person. I've always owned cats, and this one was left to me by Dad before he passed. I take good care of him. He's my buddy. But when it
Mine
comes,
was, oh, go ahead, go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say when it comes to work, it has to be me.
Oh, well, that's true. I had an aqua cat. I got him because I was living with a woman whose 5-year-old daughter had this was her cat, and then they had to move to. She got accepted to an education program, and so they had to move, and they couldn't take the cat with them. So she said, "Can you look after him?" So 2 weeks later, I called her up, said, "Your cat's not your cat anymore. Your cat's my cat." And she goes, "Okay." So, but it was an aqua cat, meaning in Seattle, it rains all the time. My cat would go out into the rain, wouldn't care, come back in, shake itself out like a dog. It just didn't seem to mind, never minded baths or anything. But I've never seen a cat, Seattle or otherwise, behave like that.
Mhm. Well, it was great to see you at Frightmare in the Falls, and to see Tracy Savage
How
and
about
I
Larry?
had a great, huh?
Larry, come on. Shelly? Like Shelly?
Yeah.
Did you see him?
No, I just saw you and Tracy.
Oh,
One of the things I tried to do, and I'm still working on this, but I think I did well with this one. Last year at Frightmare in the Falls, I met 31 guests, and it really was killing me financially to do that. And I managed to get it paid off, and get things working again with financially. Because I got a friend in Toronto who says when his weakness at conventions is posters. He says he always says he's not going to get any more posters, and he always comes away with two or three. And he says it's his weakness. Well, mine is autograph and meeting the talents because, I like to give my business cards out, and I don't like just meeting the talent and giving my card out because I think I should get something off their table, show some support. But when it comes to I saw 31 last year, and that was too many. And then I went to Chiller with Lisa, and I saw 21, and where the difference between Canadian and US, I had quite the visa bill, and I got it down.
I
And I
bet.
said to myself, I'm going to try to keep the autographed list down to 10, no more than 12 at the most. And I had to make my choices careful. I always try to give people that's done my show first dibs. So you and Tracy and Warrington Gillette, for example, got top dibs because you guys have all been on the show. So I like to show support to people that have been on the show. Um,
You want to know my take on that?
huh,
From the other side? And that's just my where I am. Uh, I, I support anybody comes to the table. I don't care if they want a picture, great. If they don't, I'm if they want an autograph, great. If they don't, they just want a selfie, I'll give them a selfie. I don't care. I'm at a position, I'm not wealthy, but I'm well enough off that I will be able to live my years without having to beg on the street. And so to me, it's all bonus. It's all gravy.
yeah, I like to be supportive though. Like
No, no.
you've done the show, so it's like, I want to give back, and it's my way of saying thank you, And it's nothing against Larry Zerner or anybody else. It's just you had the Friday the 13th part three people, you had the Thanksgiving people, I saw two of them. You had
Who
the killer,
Thanksgiving cast did you see?
huh?
You said Thanksgiving, right?
Hmm.
Who in that cast did you meet?
I got suckered. It's like there was two lovely women in the cast that they announced, and I
Jenna
was like,
Harris is a blonde who I I met.
Yeah, Jenna Warren and Karen
Oh, Jenna
Cleach.
Ward, right? Not Jenna. I don't know why I said the other.
Yeah, Karen Cleach. I enjoyed Thanksgiving, and I'm not a big fan of Eli Roth's films, and nothing against him. It's just movies like Hostel are kind of hard to get through. But
Oh my,
yeah,
I agree. I won't watch them.
but Thanksgiving I really kind of dug. They
Um,
get into the spirit of horror films, but
Larry knows in our cast, he is the one who knows all about horror films because he's also an entertainment attorney. So he does get involved in a lot of things. For instance, he is the in-house counsel for Terrifier, that trilogy.
hmm.
Um, and so he informs me and Tracy, who really don't know a lot about uh, you know, specifics in horror films. But one of the things he did, because he knows I don't like blood and guts horror films. I don't mind scary. Scary's good, but I don't like to see the visceral cutting through flesh or anything like that. That doesn't
Hmm.
get, I don't like that. He recommended two horror films that have a lot of comedy in them. So the ones he recommended were Drag Me to Hell. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, it's from Sam Raimi, who
Yeah,
made the Evil Dead movies, and it's kind of in the same spirit.
right. And this is the other movie, Evil Dead 2. So,
Evil Dead 2 is hilarious.
so
Oh
he
my goodness.
he
Sam
said,
Raimi has mentioned he likes to torture Bruce Campbell, and you kind of see that. Yeah, the stuff he does to Bruce Campbell in that movie, and Bruce Campbell's like just does it.
where are we? I'm going to give you a half hour more at most. I have to be somewhere in a second, but
Would you say
after
3 hours more? I can't believe that.
let's go, dude. 17 hours. Let's go. Come on.
17 hours. I have one guy on here for 5 hours, and I was like, he warned me before the interview, this is going to be a long one. He wasn't kidding.
I couldn't even listen to myself for 5 hours.
I could. So could Tommy Chong. By the way, when did you drop the beard and a lot of the Tommy Chong look, you got in Friday the 13th part three?
Well, Greg, actually, I most always don't wear a beard. And I only grew it for that film.
Uh-huh.
But at the Phoenix convention, I grew it. So I had it again. The difference is it's all white. So still unrecognizable, but for different reason.
Yeah. No, you mentioned the Terrifier films. I've had David Howard Thornton on here, who was Art the Clown.
Yeah,
So
I don't know anything about these films, I have to
they
say.
are bloody, though. If you don't like blood and guts, you probably won't. But I had to space out, and like I saw a couple of the Killer Clowns people, and I try to not to do myself in financially, because I've got so much money. Like probably at that con, I probably spent just over $1,000.
Hmm.
I had that saved up so I could do it. But at the Frightmare in the Falls last year and at Chiller, I must have spent anywhere between 2 and 3,000. And that's why I had to take a step back and say, I gotta reel it in. and try to prioritize now.
Greg, we all have our addictions. You gotta just be, you gotta
Yeah.
make sure that they don't take over your life.
So that's why I couldn't see everybody, but I made sure I saw you and Tracy because you guys have done my show.
I'm glad you
And,
came by because I hadn't seen you since we did the
hmm
one again.
yeah. So I generally like to, like I said, people done my show. It's my way of saying thanks and showing my appreciation. And I've
So
had,
what do you do with this tape here? Then do you have a podcast?
mhm. Yeah,
Okay.
I put this will go on YouTube and it'll go on Spotify, not right away. It'll be timed to come on a certain date, but I'm going to give you the link to it so you can just put it up whenever the
Oh, that'd be
time.
great. That'd be great.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, my nephew, he's 40. He does YouTube podcasts as well, but he's actually gotten kind of successful a little bit at it. He does one called Travel Tips with Matt, and it's just him going to places like Rome and Thailand and Hawaii and wherever, and just doing about a 15-minute video on how to get around the place, wherever it is, where to eat, what are fun places to eat at, what are just fun places to do, both touristy and non-touristy. So touristy expensive, non-touristy not. And then the other thing is he's just fucking funny. So he can hold their interest. Oh, and for the ladies, he's also good looking.
I
But
should reach out and have him come on here. That would be something interesting to talk about.
if he has the time, this guy is busy.
I
So
bet, but yeah, that sounds interesting. That's different for a podcast. I admire that.
yeah. So I admire all of it. It's so great that there are easier ways to connect to the niche audiences that are out there for you, and
Hmm.
um, it doesn't matter what you're interested in life. On the internet, there's a group of people that think just like you do.
So you've done three conventions this year. That is awesome.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, so my agent I met at my very first convention was in Toronto. It was in Orlando. She was not an agent then. She was just a fan, but she got into the business of getting people together and taking them to conventions. And she is
Is it Stacy
completely,
Lee?
yeah, she's really professional, just lovely, fun lady.
I met her
And
for the first time at Chiller.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm very hopeful going into my retirement that she's going to keep me busy because she has already. And initially, I just couldn't. I was still working, so I said I'll do one a year, maybe, but not more than that. Well, so yeah, we started off this year in Phoenix. Then we went to Indianapolis a month later, and then we were supposed to go to Houston after that, but that got canceled. And that was Days of the Dead in Houston. And then we did Frightmare on the Falls. Our next events that we hope to get haven't nothing solidified, but I do believe Chiller's on the horizon. I also believe that Monster Mania is on the horizon. Uh, and anything else, because I'm a whore. I'll sell myself to the devil.
Chiller was interesting. And I remember Eddie Micah, who's one of the promoters for it. What a nice guy. Like I went on the Chiller Facebook page and I was promoting Lisa, who I was there with. I don't represent her. I'm a friend of hers, and I
No, I
just
get it.
help her. Yeah. And I told people what to expect of her when she's there. And he reached out to me privately. He says, Greg, I'm going to put you on the guest list. It's due to your association with Lisa. And that allowed me all 3 days entry for free. And I didn't ask for that, but I thought it was really cool that he did that. So Eddie was a great guy.
Karma. That's what that is.
Hmm.
You do good, and it's a natural order of things. If I do for you, you want to do for me. It's called the, reciprocity. And and it's not even that you are demanding that of me. It's just inside each of us is a thing. Oh, they're on my side. I'm on their side. So
Yeah. So, like I said, I wasn't paid to be there. I thought funny because when I was in immigration, this is a funny story. The guy that asks you what your business is there and this and that, he could not wrap his mind around that I was there on my own. Just he goes, I told him about Chiller. He looked it up. Okay. I told him who I was there to assist. He looked Lisa Langlois up. Okay. And he was like, you're not getting any money out of this. You're just doing this. I said, yeah, she's a friend of mine. And he couldn't wrap his mind around it. So I said to him, I said, sir, you know what I did last night? It started at 5 p.m. I started cleaning one of three buildings, and I got done at 6 o'clock this morning. I went home, grabbed my suitcase, went to the airport, got on a plane, stopped in Toronto, got on a plane, and went to Newark, and then came here. And he looks at me and he says, "Okay, you can go through."
you know what they did with Larry going into Canada? They said, "What are you here to do?" Well, we're going to the show, and said, "You're doing what?" He said, "What are you getting paid?" He goes, "No, I'm on display." And the guy let him through.
Well, the point I was making to the guy is that I make my money cleaning. I said that, you know, I've never made money off Lisa. That she's a friend of mine. I don't need to make money off her. I'm happy just to hang out with her and support her, you know.
But if you're a customs agent, you're going, what the hell? This guy's going to put in 3 days of 8 hour plus work and he's not going to get paid for it? I don't believe it. Yes.
Well, you know what? I had a good time there. I met lots of cool people. You know,
I'd
it
never
was
been. I loved it. I uh, I didn't know it was kind of half of it on the Canadian side is like Disneyland. They have all these things for kids to do. I didn't do them, but they have go-kart races and they have Dracula building and they have Ripley's Believe It or Not. And I go, wow, I didn't know it was so crazy. But
I
anyway,
did feel having Mike DeLuna there for the starting doing these. I think I find it I thought it was Richard Brooker through the whole movie, but I guess he did the hanging Jason, so he came to hang out at the conventions with you guys.
yeah, no, and I'm glad they reached out to him because he's turned out to be such a sweetheart of a guy. In fact, without being asked,
Hmm.
he's the one who came up with this vest for everybody, so for Tracy and Shelly, Larry, and yeah, I'm just he's a sweetheart of a guy. He'll never let you, you buy him a drink, he has to buy you one right back. He's that kind of guy, but sweetheart. I'm glad he joined. And yeah, I didn't, when I was working, I didn't even know he existed because he was not working on days I was at the set. But you learn about that later. The other person that we had at one of the conventions, two of the conventions, both Phoenix and Indianapolis, was and I'll screw his, I don't know his last name, but Kevin, who played the short white biker,
Oh, Kevin O'Brien.
Kevin O'Brien. Another sweetheart of a guy. So he'll be do more of these as it fits his schedule with us because it seems to work better just to go as a cast. And
Hmm.
and yes, typically Larry and I would lose money to Richard Brooker because everybody wanted Jason. Well, now they talk to Mike DeLuna, but they don't, it doesn't take away from our income either. So it's nice. We like it. I love Richard, don't you get me wrong, but
Hmm.
they always love Jason's more. And at one of the conventions, long line for Richard, no line for Larry and I start yelling at the people in the line. I go, he's a stunt man. He doesn't say anything. Larry and I talk. And Richard's going, what? What's the heat?
Yeah. No, and it's and Nick Savage you mentioned was represented by Tracy's mom as well. Why doesn't Richard, because he was also in Fright Night as well as one of the bouncers, and but any indication why Nick Savage doesn't do any of the conventions?
I don't know. And, I think I'll ask Tracy about that because she might have a better chance. He was represented by her mom. I'm sure he's not anymore. Her mom's retired.
Hmm.
I'm sure I don't even know if Nick's an actor anymore, um, but I'll ask because she might know.
And
Um,
Gloria Charles, of course, we unfortunately lost, you know.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
But I
Kath
mean, yeah.
Catherine, who played Harpoon, Catherine might at one point or another do one of these with us if it fits her locale or whatever, but we haven't been able to get her for a while. Dana, we have not been able to get for a long while. It's not that she doesn't love us, she loves us, but life for her is really good and she doesn't need to do anything, so she doesn't. The other
Yeah.
we've never seen is Jeffrey Rogers, who played Tracy's boyfriend. And I don't know if you know, he's a um, emergency room doctor in where I live in this area. So I'd like,
Has he dealt with you?
I want to go, oh, no, and I've been through so many surgeries, you'd think so. But by the way, you're talking to me, I'm 7 days out past hip replacement. So I was laid up literally 6 days ago. I was laid up, but I'm making a speedy recovery. They don't expect you to walk without a walker or a cane for 2 or 3 weeks, and inside 3 days, I was walking. So I think I'll be fine. But
Well, Jeffrey walked on his hands.
yes, very capably, I might add. But I don't know if he still does because now he uses those hands for money. So. But I'd like to see him. I really would, at least to say hi. But I know the emergency room he works at, but how do you barge into someone's emergency room? Hey, Jeffrey, long time no see.
And of course, Rachel Howard is, isn't she your therapist?
It's a weird thing. She is a therapist, but I'm guess I'm the one who made her go crazy because she won't.
Yeah, it's unfortunately they don't want to come out and do these things, you know, but I kind of get it, you know.
Well, look how your life's changed in the last 20 years. You don't know what you're interested in or what you'll be wanting to do. And this to us seems fun, and it is fun.
Hmm.
But but for her, she's a therapist. She's worried that her patients would see her as something that's not doesn't have the believability that she's already established with them as a therapist, and so it's not worth the risk for her.
Wow. Have you seen her since the movie? No.
No, no.
Maybe she can't help you.
My therapist. I too have a degree in psychology, so if anybody, I'll self-analyze myself.
Of course, Steve Suskins is no longer with us, but Cherry Modgens, who played Edna at the beginning of the film, did she ever get out to these? No,
I
no.
did like the Jerry though. He was I thought he was not only a nice guy, but also I thought he was a capable actor in a film that didn't show him to be so capable. But I saw him in other roles, and oh yeah, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. So Steve Miner as another the other name you get bounced around. He's the only director to do two of these movies, so parts two and three. So
And a whole season of The Wonder Years, that TV series, which proved to me he finally learned how to direct. He wasn't a strong director, at least with me, during the film, but he became a much better director because I love some of the stuff he directed later. So,
now is the reason you became a stand-up comedy comic is because Well, on Friday the 13th, part three, you noticed being an electrician was not your strong point.
Oh, comedy and Friday the 13th really don't have mixture too much. I moved up to Seattle and I couldn't pursue acting because I was my business that I had to do.
Mhm.
But I thought I could do a half-hour comedy on an occasional night. So maybe I'll start learning if I can do this because I always wanted to. But most actors in LA will tell you stand-up comedy is terrifying. They just don't have the guts to do it. But I had a 5-minute idea. And I took that 5-minute idea and marched myself down to a comedy club, and the owner said, start coming out. So I wrote more and wrote more. And I never intended to become professional in it. I just wanted to do it because I love doing it.
Hmm.
And but I did actually get to a point where I was what they call a middle act, where I would get paid very small crumbs of money to do 30 minutes of comedy. And even got to go down to LA about 5 or 6 times, work the improv, which was always a lifelong dream of mine. So to even get to do a short set there was so much fun. I loved doing it. So it's a different kind of animal. It's a certainly a much more quick payoff. If you are doing well, you know it. If you're doing poorly, you know it. Crickets, very easy to identify how you're doing.
Who are some of your favorite comedians?
Robin Williams, right out the gate, no doubt about
Oh,
it.
I miss him. I felt so bad when he left us. And I've
But
heard so many great things about him from people I've had on here that worked with him.
oh well, I got to meet Robin more than a few times before he was ever famous. Uh, So big fan, but also a big fan of Mike Birbiglia, a big fan of Jim Gaffigan, who's played Tim Walsh on the recent Saturday Night Live things leading up to the election. Jim Gaffigan's a pudgy white guy, very funny, strong as hell. But so many, I could literally go through 40 comedians, you wouldn't know their names, but they're well worth it. One, if you ever get to see him, comes right out of Seattle here, Hawaiian name, Kermit Apio, Apio. Family friendly, strong comic, real funny. One of his jokes is that he goes, he goes, my name's Kermit. It's not the best thing, I tell my mom that. She goes, honey, Kermit is Hawaiian for strong, which it's not. And he said, yeah, mom, but it's American for frog. Okay, I got to run. I'm being paged by my brother.
Hmm.
Do this again, but this will have to be it, I'm afraid.
Well, before I let you go, would you mind doing a plug for my show?
Sure.
Just
What
state your name and say you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
okay. Hey, this is David Katims. I'm Chuck from Friday the 13th, Part 3, and I'm here with Greg from I blew it.
Python's Paradise.
Okay, and then I was good, right?
Hmm.
Okay, I'll do it again.
Sure, go for it.
Hey, this is David Katims with Friday the 13th, Part 3, played the role of Chuck, and I'm here with Greg from Python's Paradise. Listen up, it's good stuff.
Absolutely. It was an honor to finally meet you at Frightmare in the Falls, and I hope we get to meet again. Thank you so much for being such a great guest and coming on here and sharing your experiences.
Well, thanks, Greg. I wish you great success going forward.
I appreciate that. God bless you, and you have a wonderful day.
Okay, take care.
Yep. Bye bye.